I want to go ahead and give you statistics right now from the transfer portal that is currently going on today. But before we get into that, guys, we are live. This is the South Carolina. This is the not the South Carolina. We do those later on. This is the Southern Sports Scene, episode 17 of the Southern Sports Scene. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you guys for hopping on and discussing some ball with us. Everybody do us a favor. Y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified. Actually, this is episode 18. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live. Posting a video, posting a short here on the Southern Sports Scene. As always, make sure that you visit our friends at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use code SSS15 if you want to get yourself 15% off of your first purchase. Or go on over and visit our friends over at Chike Nutrition. Get started with the best available iced coffee on the market. 20. 1 gram of fat, 1 gram of sugar. Use the link below to get 10% off. The transfer portal is crazier than it has ever been. And reality is about to set in for a lot of athletes around college football. Some that did not want to hear these statistics that have been that are about to be read. And a lot of them, over half, are going to still be in there. In 2 weeks, over 10,000 players entered the transfer portal. And according to Western Illinois special teams and recruiting coordinator Josh Caraway, there are only, and I say only meaning there could be more, 6,846 players that are still active in the portal and looking, and we have one more day till the portal closes. This is the last day. You're talking about out of 10,576, and I'm about to do the math. Guys, 64% of dudes that enter the transfer portal are not getting looks. What does that tell you? There is a, how should we say it? There's a selling point problem in college football, and there is a reality problem in college football. That's just my opinion. Guys, when you talk about a team that, or when you talk about really a situation that is grave in some instances, in a situation where kids do not have the proper training, the proper evaluation of people around them, it turns into a really, really bad ordeal. And it destroys their college careers. Because instead of sticking around the school, what do? They want to hurry up and go get the next best thing. They want to go in the portal. I'm not going to sit here and say that that is a bad thing. But guys, there are not, realistically, out of so there are approximately 777 across 1, 2, and 3 and along the FBS and the NAIA, excuse me. There's 136
FBS teams. There's 129 FCS. There are 162 Division II. There's 240 Division IIIs. So you're talking about 667, and we're not even on the fact of NAIA, and we're not even talking about JUCO. So if you include NAIA and JUCO, and by the way, NAIA barely does scholarships. The same thing goes with whatchamacallit, Division III. There are only 911 college football teams around. 911. That's an estimate. On average, there are only about 50 to 60 scholarships for the Division I level. Out of roster size is probably 85 to 90 now. It was at the time 100. So now you're looking at the reality of, oh, shoot, I don't think I'm going to have a team to play for this time around in college football. And unfortunately, that's the era of college football that we are living in right now. We are living in the era where I believe that we have athletes that are sold a big ticket, that are told, oh, they're going to be the next best thing. They are told, oh, this is what's going to be great about them. And then the transfer portal closes, and now they don't have a home. They're stuck. This year, it's worse for them because there's no because there's only one portal window. What happens to them? Well, they're stuck there. If you get stuck in the transfer portal, you are going to be, this is what happens. The bottom line is that you lose your scholarship, okay? You are not going to complete your education. You're probably going to lose your eligibility. You're going to lose an opportunity to transfer more. And look, man, it's on you at the end of the day. It's on you. You have nobody else to blame but yourself for putting yourself in that situation. It's not on me. It's not on the coaches. You made the decision to enter the portal. We're living in a time where harsh reality of college football is coming to fruition. If you don't have a name behind you, and if you're just not a dog on the field, if you didn't have stars by your name coming out of high school, because I don't see a team that's going to be vying for you. Plus, you have these agents that make it worse, that are slimy, that sell a bad product, that with guys like Damon Williams, who, by the way, his agent represents Jedd Fisch. You talk about a sticky situation there. That's something I don't want to be involved with. Why would you? You are going to screw yourself greatly. Absolutely greatly if you do. Oh, man. I mean, these kids, man. I mean, I feel bad for them because most of it really isn't their fault, but they ultimately choose their fate. They decide to enter the portal. It ain't on me. It's on them to make the decision. Once they do that, they have sealed their fate. I don't really know what to tell you other than, hey, man, the heart. And it could ultimately change the viewpoint of a lot of athletes and say, hey, man, maybe it's best if I wait out the storm a little bit and enter the portal at a later time. That's what I would do. That's the smart thing to do. That's just me. So, tough reality, man. It's a tough reality for dudes to have to deal with. But you know what? Maybe they will learn at this point in time. Maybe. Maybe they won't. Maybe I'm just crazy and maybe I won't learn. Maybe me as a college student that didn't get an opportunity to actually play Division I college football, that had an opportunity to, but external circumstances prevented me from doing so. Maybe I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what I've known from many people that I have gotten to know, that why is my camera not working? This is stupid. All right, we'll be right back. All right, I hate this daggum camera. Am I back? If y'all are in the chat, y'all do me a favor. Y'all give me a thumbs up if we are good on camera. Hey guys, if you're in the chat right now, y'all give me a thumbs up if y'all can see my face or if I'm blurry, anything like that. Please let me know. I should be good, realistically. Let me see. Yep, we're good. We are good. All right. But this is the reality, man, where a lot of kids are going to have to deal with this in the long run. So this ain't on anybody but people that decide to enter the portal. When you make that decision, you ultimately, I wouldn't necessarily say dig your own grave, but it's pretty damn close to it. Pretty damn close. All right. Big news from the portal. Devin Harper, the top WAP 100 recruit from Calvary Baptist High School, is headed to LSU. Massive flip for the Tigers as they get another quality offensive lineman. I got to watch Devin Harper sometime whenever he was in high school, and dude, he is as advertised. What is it going to be like when he transfers to LSU and basically has to deal with the same crew? Is he going to get playing time? I expect for his reps to increase greatly. I thought that he's going to see the field a lot more compared to what he saw last year. I think he got a decent bit of playing time, and even though it was garbage time at times, but again, got an opportunity to play a good bit, even like Florida, Tulane, Arkansas, twice Tulane. But hey, he's gonna get reps in. That's what matters at the end of the day. Really enjoyed watching him from Calvary Baptist, and let me just tell you, this kid has an opportunity to be one of the better left tackles in college football. You give him a year or two to develop, and I think he can really grow into his frame. He's going to be a solid choice out at tackle. He's going to do some really, really, really damn good things. Better than what people can imagine. So I'm really excited to see what his future is going to look like. I'm really, really intrigued to see what he's going to do at the end of the day for the LSU Tigers. I really like Devin Harper. Really, really do. Really think he's going to be a key contributor on that offensive line whenever he gets reps. Okay, big one ahead of us. Let's get to the main topic of tonight. Miami, Indiana squaring off in a national title game. The one thing that popped off at me when I looked at the tape and I studied both of these teams, I did my homework over the weekend and over time did some little things, went over the tape, did some other stuff. But from what I have heard and from what I see from both of these teams, Indiana is the most balanced team in the country. That's the bottom line. You want to talk about a team that wins in all three phases of the game? You look at what they did against Oregon and tell me if that's not a balanced team. When the stat sheet doesn't show that it looks like an offensive onslaught, guys, Oregon outgained them on offense except for rushing. They had 285 yards passing compared to 177 for Indiana. 378 yards of total offense. Oregon was 8 of 13 on third down. But here's the kicker. Oregon had 3 turnovers. Indiana won the time of possession, and they were efficient on their drives. They forced turnovers. You have a pick six first play of the game by D'Angelo Pons. Man, is he going to be interesting to look out for this week. And guys, you're talking about a guy that was an all Big Ten last year. That's an All-American. That's going to be one of the first DBs taken off the board in this year's NFL draft. That coming out of high school was a 3-star guy. Was not very highly recruited out of the portal. Wasn't even in the top 100 in best DBs. But pops off as becomes one of the better DBs in the Big Ten. His technique is almost flawless. Almost flawless. He does not allow for anything to get past him. He does not lose in man-to-man coverage. Never loses. Teams will not throw his way because he is going to strap up and he is going to be physical at the line of scrimmage and he is going to play sound, fundamental defensive back play. That's what he's going to do. The rest of the defense has a stud. Here's the difference, like I mentioned on after the semifinal last week when I talked about this Indiana team and comparing them to the greatest teams of all time. Guys, in 5 years from now, how many people are going to talk about, oh, they had this many first-round draft picks. Oh, they had this. Oh, they had that. Oh, they had this. Guys, they're not in the conversation that's 2019 LSU or 2020 Alabama. What they do have, though, is consistency. Yes, they have a Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza who's going to be a first-round draft pick, probably the first pick of the draft next year. Not just probably, will be the first pick of the draft next year. But apart from him, guys, there's only a handful of guys that has a draft grade. D'Angelo Pons will be a first-round pick. Majority of your defense, though, I think 2 or 3 are top 100 players in the draft. Apart from that, that's about it. There's no big names at receiver. You could say Omar Cooper is one, but Omar Cooper has been in college football forever. Forever. Well, never mind, not him. It was Rodgers. Shoot. EJ Williams is the one that's been in college football forever. Omar Cooper, maybe. Not the most eye-popping numbers, though. The running back groom shares the load. Roman Hemby, Maryland transfer, comes in his first year, has an all Big Ten season. I told you needed to look out for him in the preseason. Kalen Black had a massive year last year and then comes back after being behind guys like Justice Ellison and Tyson Lawton. Guys, both of those guys share the load, and they run for 4 or 5 yards a carry. That's what you're getting from this Indiana run game. Miami's run defense has been much improved. Much improved. Thought they did well against great backs this year. You look at some of the games where I thought they had a lot of success. Thought they did really well against Michigan and Jeremiah Love. Thought they did really well against what they did against South Florida with the option attack of Byron Brown. Thought they did a really good job against a team like Texas A&M. And you know what they were capable of in the run game. Thought they did a decent job of shutting down a guy like Bo Jackson. And then you saw what they did last week. Apart from the one run, the 75-yard run by Kewan Lacey, and even though he was hurt, you take away that 73-yard run, Miami had just under 40 yards of rushing. Apart from the 173-yard touchdown, they had just under 40 yards rushing. Never mind, they had just under 50 yards rushing. But regardless, their rushing defense has been much better. One thing I think that Indiana is going to strike on, though, is that Indiana is so balanced that sometimes you're not really knowing where the football is going to go because they spread it around and they play complementary football. You'll see a lot of play action. You'll see a lot of back shoulder face to the sideline. Miami's DBs are going to have to play fundamental football. They're going to have to create turnovers. But if you give the football, if Miami puts the football on the ground and if Indiana's defense forces Carson Beck into mistakes, we've seen games where it's cost Miami against SMU and against Louisville. 4 interceptions against Louisville, had a game sealer against SMU. You can't have bad mistakes in a game like this. You cannot. You can't afford it. You are going to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to where you are not going to be able to be a consistent contender for putting up 6 on the board, and instead you have to settle for 3. You can't do that against this team. Miami's offense cannot put the football on the ground. They cannot force balls into tight coverage. You cannot. Indiana plays disciplined football. Miami struggled with that last week. They had a lot of penalties, a lot of pre-snap penalties, and things of that nature. Miami struggled greatly. They had 10 penalties against Ole Miss that killed some drives. And even though they dominated time of possession, they allowed big plays. Indiana's capable of that. The X factor in this game, though, is going to be Charlie Becker. I have been raving about Charlie Becker since the Penn State game. He has put himself on the map and has become one of the premier deep threats in the Big Ten. He's going to be an X factor tonight or in this football game. You can't let him get on an island because he's going to make you pay. The sophomore has a bright future ahead of him, and he is an NFL wide receiver. I am going to put my money on that, and I'm going to stand on that. Charlie Becker is going to have a massive game this weekend. He's not going to have these spectacular, he's not going to have 5, 6, or 7 catches, and he's going to pop off for 100 yards rushing. No, I don't think I'm going to expect that. Guys, I'm going to see maybe 2 or 3 catches. One of those catches is going to be a big catch. One of those catches is going to be clutch. Guys, the last 3 games against Ohio State, against Alabama, against Oregon. Ohio State, he has a big game for 6 catches, 126. But I wasn't worried about the stat line, but he came up clutch on that 3rd down throw from Fernando Mendoza. Against Alabama, has a big catch in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Against Oregon, takes a shot, 36-yard bomb. Great catch, by the way. You're going to get 80 the football. Miami has to key in on him in man-to-man coverage. He's going to make you pay if you're not going to be able to match up on him. Guys, this is the start of a really good career for Charlie Becker. I would expect him to be a preseason All-American in 2026 with Josh Hoover throwing him the football. The running game is going to be really interesting for me on the Indiana side of things. How much of a factor is Fernando Mendoza's legs this weekend? 41 touchdowns this year. Pretty impressive stat line. Now, I would expect for a guy, well, he had 33 in the regular season. I understand that. I do. But how much of a factor is his legs going to be? We haven't seen him run the football as much as we would like to. Had a 21-yard gain against Oregon, but apart from that, he hasn't really pulled the football down and run it. Does he do that against Miami? I don't know. He very likely could. I would recommend he don't, because Ruben Bain and Akeem Meisdor on the other side of the ball are two of the best defensive ends in the ACC, and they have good ball key instincts, and they read quarterback pull. They read quarterback all the way. They're not going to get fooled on options. They know. That's when guys like Caleb and Black and Roman Hemby come into play. What about Kobe Martin, the freshman? By the way, this is a very, very deep running back room. And Kobe Martin is not going to get a lot of praise when it's all said and done. And I don't think he expects that. He's not the main course. He's not the guy that a lot of people look at times. Just isn't. And that's okay. That's completely fine. But what Kalen Black does, or but what Kobe Martin does, is that he's basically Roman Hemby, except a pound shorter than him. He is a red zone threat. And I would expect for him to have some big carries throughout the game. Guys, this is one of the only teams in college football that has had 3 100-yard rushers in at least one game. Kobe Martin had 2 100-yard games, and even though it was against Indiana State and Illinois at one point, Kalen Black has a 100-yard game. Roman Hemby has a pair of 100-yard games. How much of a factor is Kobe Martin? Kobe Martin didn't play against Alabama. But how much of a role? Well, he didn't get a lot of carries against Alabama, I should say. But what will Kobe Martin do? I would say that him and Charlie Becker would be our 2 X factors in this game. Everybody knows about the running back room with Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. But what about Kobe Martin? I would love to see what Kobe Martin can do. I think he has an opportunity to have a massive game. I really do. I think if Kalen Black or Roman Hemby, they're going to carry the load a good bit. They're going to get 10 to 15 carries apiece. I would expect for Kalen Black to get his carries up. I want to see him potentially get 5 to 10. Very well could happen. Especially when you get into the red zone. Kobe Martin could be electric in the red zone. He can break off some big runs too. I would expect for Martin to play a massive role this weekend. How much of a big factor will this Indiana offensive line play against arguably the best pass rush in the ACC? You got to be able to you got to get the football out quick, first of all. When Fernando Mendoza comes up to the line of scrimmage and we audible out the line of scrimmage and we're changing the play, when we get a 60, 60, 60, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, 90, when we get a 90 call, in pass pro, what that's going to mean is that you have to be able, that's pretty much max protection there. You have got to be able to add an extra back into the backfield, because those 2 left tackles are going to have to get physical with both of them. But what Ruben Bain does so well is that he is so strong and he's so technically sound that he reads a play all the way. He's able to shed off blockers. Guys, you go look at my reels that I posted over the weekend of Ruben Bain. I posted 2 of them. I gave you 2 good examples of what he can do off the edge and how he is so instinctive off the football that it is so hard to be able to get a good look at what he can do because of how dynamic of a player that he is. You have got to key in on him, and you got to key in on Akeem Meisdor. But I will say is that Ohio State offense in the early part of the game was able to get chunk plays. The big play to Jeremiah Smith, complete busting coverage. You got to be able to create routes and concepts that give busts in coverage so that you can gain leverage over that defense. You got to be able to, and you're going to have to attack that part of the field. Line right now for this game, from what I have seen, is I believe 7.5 in favor of Indiana. It could very well dip, though. Yeah, Indiana right now it opened at 7.5. That I'm not really surprised. I'm going to say this. If Miami is able to force turnovers and stay in the football game, they have an opportunity to cover and get a national title. However, because of how balanced that Indiana has been, because they play clean football compared to what Miami did, Miami had to climb from behind against Ole Miss in a game where Miami controlled the football for 41 minutes and still allowed for an Ole Miss team to get the football out quickly and score at times. When your offense has lapses, guys, a team like Indiana is going to play flawless football. They are going to have very little mistakes in a game like this, especially when it matters so much to them. So as much as I like what Mario Cristobal and company have done, give me the Indiana Hoosiers to cover in this game, complete one of the best seasons in college football history. It's not 19 LSU and it's not 2020 Bama, but they are the most complete team in college football history. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Leave a like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on X, hit the repost, hit the like button. See you guys after the national championship. Y'all have a great weekend. See y'all then.